Have you ever noticed that everyone wants success until they discover what it actually costs? We're told that if we work hard enough, believe in ourselves, and never give up, success will eventually come. We see the highlights, the luxury cars, the beautiful homes, the applause, the interviews, the millions of followers. But what nobody shows you are the nights filled with doubt, the birthdays that were missed, the friendships that quietly disappeared, the constant fear of losing everything after finally making it. Success has been romanticized, the price has been hidden, and today, we're going to talk about the side of success that nobody celebrates, because if you only admire success without understanding its cost, you'll spend your entire life chasing an illusion. Most people think success is a reward. It's not. It's a trade. Every successful person has exchanged something valuable to get where they are: time, comfort, sleep, relationships, peace of mind, sometimes even happiness. The world only notices what they gained. It rarely notices what they gave up. Imagine standing in front of two doors. Behind the first door is comfort. Behind the second is the life you've always dreamed of. Most people believe they can walk through both, but life doesn't work that way. Every yes is also a no. When you choose to chase greatness, you're choosing to leave something behind. That's the first truth nobody tells you. Success isn't about getting everything, it's about deciding what you're willing to lose. Think about the last time you admired someone successful. Maybe it was an entrepreneur, an athlete, a musician, or someone who built a business from nothing. What did you see? You saw the finished product. You didn't see the years when nobody believed in them. You didn't see the applications that got rejected, the business that failed, the nights they questioned themselves, the mornings they wanted to quit, the invisible work. Success is like an iceberg. People celebrate the part above the water. The real story is hidden underneath. Thousands of hours, countless failures, and sacrifices no camera was there to record. That's why comparing your beginning to someone else's ending is one of the fastest ways to become discouraged. You're comparing what you know to what you don't. Here's something that surprises many people. The higher you climb, the fewer people can relate to your journey. At first, everyone cheers you on, but when your commitment starts making other people uncomfortable, the cheering becomes quieter. Some friends stop calling, some relatives begin questioning your decisions, others secretly hope you fail, not because they hate you, but because your ambition reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. That's a painful truth. Sometimes your growth exposes someone else's comfort, and not everyone is willing to face that. As you change, your circle changes, not because you think you're better, but because you're becoming different. Success often requires saying no. No to late nights that waste your time, no to distractions, no to habits that once felt normal. Eventually, the life you're building starts separating you from the life you used to know, and loneliness becomes part of the journey, not forever, but long enough to test whether you truly want what you're chasing. This is probably one of the biggest lies we've been sold. Stay motivated. Motivation feels amazing until it disappears, and it always disappears. Nobody wakes up every single day excited to do difficult things, not even the people you admire. The difference is, successful people stop depending on emotion. They build discipline. Discipline is choosing to continue when your feelings tell you to stop, when it's raining, when you're tired, when nobody is watching, when the results haven't appeared. That's when success is built, not on the days you feel unstoppable, but on the days you'd rather do anything else. Because success doesn't belong to the most talented. It often belongs to the person who simply refuses to quit. Human beings naturally want to belong. It's how we've survived for thousands of years. We want acceptance, approval, recognition. But success often demands something uncomfortable: being different. If everyone spends their evenings scrolling endlessly, you'll probably need to spend yours learning. If everyone spends their paycheck immediately, you'll probably need to invest instead. If everyone laughs at big dreams, you'll need to protect yours. Looking different feels uncomfortable, but eventually, it produces different results. The problem is, most people want extraordinary lives while living ordinary habits. That equation never works. Success begins the moment you're willing to become the person other people aren't willing to become, not because you're superior, but because your priorities have changed. But even after you've paid all these prices, even after the discipline, the sacrifices, the loneliness, there's one cost almost nobody talks about, a cost that has broken successful people long after they achieved everything they once dreamed of, and it's far more dangerous than failure itself. There's a quote that says, "Be careful what you wish for because you might actually get it." At first it sounds strange. Why would anyone regret getting exactly what they wanted? But that's because most people only imagine the destination. They never imagine what comes after. Success doesn't erase your problems, it changes them. And that's the next truth almost nobody talks about. Many people believe success is a finish line. Once I get the promotion, I'll finally be happy. Once I make six figures, everything will fall into place. Once I become successful, I'll have peace. But life doesn't work like that. Have you ever noticed how every milestone quickly becomes your new normal? Remember when owning a smartphone felt like a luxury? Now it's ordinary. The same thing happens with success. The house you dreamed about becomes just your house. The car becomes just your car. The salary that once excited you becomes your monthly expectation. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, our tendency to get used to improvements over time. It's one reason external achievements often bring only temporary boosts in happiness. That's why people who chase success without purpose often feel strangely empty after reaching their goals, because they climb the mountain only to discover another mountain waiting. Success is not the destination, growth is. People love saying, just be yourself, until yourself becomes successful. The moment your life begins to change, people begin to change too. Some will celebrate you, others will criticize you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your success challenges the stories they've told themselves. Suddenly you're lucky, you're privileged, you've changed. You think you're better than everyone else. It's easier for some people to explain your success away than to ask themselves what they could learn from it. That's why you can't build your life around other people's opinions, because the same crowd that ignores you today may applaud you tomorrow, and if you let applause define you, criticism will destroy you. Build your identity on your values, not on public opinion. Here's another truth. Success gives you freedom, but it also gives you responsibility. When you're responsible only for yourself, your mistakes mostly affect you. But when people begin depending on you, everything changes. Employees, clients, family, business partners, children. Your decisions suddenly carry weight. One mistake can affect dozens, sometimes hundreds, even thousands of people. That's a pressure many people never see. They admire the leader, but they don't see the sleepless nights spent making difficult decisions. Sometimes there isn't a perfect choice, only the least harmful one. That's why leadership is often lonely, not because leaders are above everyone else, but because some decisions can't be shared. One of the biggest misconceptions about success is that successful people stop failing. They don't. Their failures just become bigger. A small mistake when you're starting may cost you a few days. A mistake after you've built something significant can cost millions, or damage trust that took years to earn. The fear of failure doesn't disappear, it simply changes shape. The difference is, successful people stop seeing failure as proof that they're not good enough. Instead, they see it as feedback. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword. Every strike of the hammer looks violent, but each strike strengthens the metal. Failure works the same way. It shapes you, refines you, reminds you where your weak points are, if you're willing to learn. Social media has made success look instant. You scroll for 5 minutes, and suddenly it feels like everyone your age owns a company, travels the world, drives luxury cars, lives a perfect life. But remember this, people post victories, not ordinary Tuesdays. They post celebrations, not uncertainty. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's highlight reel, That's an unfair comparison. Real success isn't about becoming better than someone else. It's about becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Your timeline doesn't have to match anyone else's. Some people bloom at 20, others at 40. Some build businesses, others build families. Some leave behind wealth, others leave behind wisdom. There isn't one definition of success, only the one that aligns with your values. As your ambitions grow, one question becomes more important than almost any other. Who are you becoming while chasing success? It's possible to win professionally and lose personally, to build a business, while destroying your health, to earn respect, while losing your integrity, to become wealthy, while becoming someone you no longer recognize. If success requires you to sacrifice every meaningful relationship, every principle, every ounce of compassion, then you've gained something valuable, but lost something priceless. The goal isn't to succeed at work and fail at life. The goal is to build a life that you're proud to live, even when nobody is watching. But after all of these sacrifices, after the discipline, the loneliness, the criticism, the responsibility, there is one final truth. It's the lesson many people don't understand until it's almost too late. And once you understand it, you'll never look at success the same way again. Imagine you're standing at the top of a mountain. The climb was exhausting. There were moments you wanted to quit, moments when you questioned whether it was worth it. But somehow you kept going. Now you're finally there. The view is breathtaking. But something unexpected happens. Instead of asking, "What's next?" you ask, "Who did I become on the way here?" Because in the end, success isn't measured by what you have. It's measured by who you've become. And that's the darkest truth of all. There comes a point where success can stop serving you, and you begin serving it. At first, you control your ambitions. Then your ambitions begin controlling you. You tell yourself you'll work just a little harder, just one more deal, one more promotion, one more milestone, one more million, one more achievement. But one more never ends, because success has no finish line. The moment you reach one goal, another appears. If your happiness depends on reaching the next destination, you'll spend your entire life arriving without ever feeling like you've arrived. That's why some of the wealthiest people in the world still feel restless, not because they don't have enough, but because they never learned when enough was enough. Money can be earned again, businesses can be rebuilt, mistakes can be corrected. But time only moves in one direction. Every day, without realizing it, we're spending the most valuable currency we'll ever own. Not dollars, not gold. Time. The saddest part is that most people don't realize its value until they have very little left. There are parents who would trade every dollar they own for one more conversation with their child. There are entrepreneurs who would gladly give up part of their fortune to relive the years they were too busy to enjoy. There are elderly people who don't regret working hard. They regret waiting too long to truly live. Success should give you more life, not take life away from you. Here's something few people understand. If your identity depends entirely on your success, then failure will destroy your sense of self. What happens if the business fails? What happens if you lose your job? What happens if the applause stops? Who are you then? If your only answer is, "I was successful," then you've built your identity on something temporary. Real confidence doesn't come from titles. It comes from character. Character remains when everything else disappears. Titles can be taken, money can disappear, popularity fades, character stays. Become the kind of person who would still deserve respect, even if nobody knew your name. Think back to the beginning of your journey. Who believed in you before anyone else did? Who encouraged you when there was nothing to celebrate? Who stayed when there was no audience? Those people are rare. Don't lose them while chasing people who only show up after you've succeeded. Because here's another uncomfortable truth. Many people love success. Few love the person before the success. Protect the people who loved you when your dreams were still invisible. They are worth more than followers, more than applause, more than recognition. Society has a definition of success: a big house, luxury cars, expensive watches, fame, influence, status. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of those things. But here's the question. Whose definition are you living? Because if you spend your life chasing someone else's version of success, you might achieve everything and still feel like you've failed. Maybe success for you is having dinner with your family every night. Maybe it's building a business that creates jobs in your community. Maybe it's having the freedom to choose how you spend your time. Maybe it's leaving behind wisdom instead of wealth. Only you can answer that question, and you should answer it before the world answers it for you. So, what's the darkest truth about success nobody talks about? It's this. Success doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you've always been. If you're grateful before success, you'll likely be grateful after it. If you're kind before success, success gives you more opportunities to be kind. But if you're arrogant, insecure, dishonest, or empty inside, success won't fix those things. It often amplifies them. Because money doesn't create character, power doesn't create integrity, fame doesn't create wisdom, they reveal what's already there. That's why the most important work you'll ever do isn't building your career, it isn't growing your bank account, it isn't becoming famous, it's building yourself. Because the person you become will determine what you do with everything you achieve. One day, nobody will remember how many hours you worked. They won't remember the expensive things you owned. They won't remember every achievement you collected. But the people whose lives you touched will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember your honesty, your courage, your compassion, your integrity. Those are the things that outlive success, so chase your dreams. Work harder than yesterday. Become the best version of yourself, but never become so obsessed with success that you forget to build a life worth succeeding in, because at the end of it all, the greatest achievement isn't becoming successful, it's becoming someone you can look in the mirror and genuinely respect. If this video made you stop and think, share it with someone who's chasing success but may not have considered its hidden costs. And if you're ready to question the stories most people accept without thinking, subscribe to Darkest Truth in Life, because sometimes the truth you avoid is the truth that changes your life. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and never stop seeking the truth.